So, hi everyone, and thank you once again for joining us for the dfree 2021 Leadership Retreat. We are back here. My name is Jasmine Walden. I am like family to you guys, but I'm here with some people that I believe everybody should know. One being the person you see in the middle here, Butta Williams. Butta, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Jay?
I'm good. I'm good. So, before we get started, can you just briefly introduce yourself and these other lovely gentlemen we have here today?
All right. My name is Archers Williams. Everybody calls me Bud. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Um, these brothers that you see on the page, but we formed a brotherhood after our experiences that we had in each city. So you got somebody from the East Coast, the West Coast, down south, and two from the Midwest. All of us were part of street organizations or doing street things. And at some point, we decided we wanted to be the change. And we started doing stuff in our own neighborhood. So you got Black and them in Boston, you got Blue in LA, you got Dre in Houston, and me and Bobby. Actually, Bobby was one of my original mentors. That he was in a different street organization than I was, but he took a liking to me. So he was one of the people that helped me start learning how to be more productive with the community. Um, as time went on, I learned about a term from a professor from Chicago State. It was a term called Jegna, which is a person that has been through some massive things in their life, but still stay integral. And they decided to use the rest of their life to either raise and protect the elder and the youth and their culture, right? And so that term is Jegna. And that's what we all are. Like, no matter what our street families were or whatever organization, whatever we did in the street, when you become a Jegna, you made a conscious decision to change your life and to protect and preserve the youth and the adults, right? So during my last, since '07, I want to say, when I get into what they call activism, my street family was real big in Chicago, and that's how I moved around. And I linked with other street organizations in Chicago. We made a lot of stuff happen. Um, I ended up working for Al Sharpton for a number of years doing his groundwork. And they never figured out how I got into every community the way I did, but I would call other street organizations, let them know I'm on my way. And they would, open me with embrace me with open arms. So over the years, we just bonded a brotherhood. We built a brotherhood, and we've been doing different projects. Um, i.e., why we're on the phone with you guys now, is because we're partnering with dfree, and we're excited to talk about that later on. But I'm Archers Williams, 42, father of six. Um, I'm an Aries. I like long walks on the beach.
Thank you
um,
for that.
I just, I'm just glad to be able to be in a position to have walked through a certain experience and still be alive to talk about it and to help brothers understand different things about life that we don't talk about, like depression, like ownership, like credit, like all type of things that we avoid talking because we think it ain't worth talking. And these brothers have helped me become stronger in these points and help me help others in these points. So that's what we are, the Jegna Brothers.
That's awesome. I want everybody to introduce themselves, but before we even get started, let me just say that I commend all of you guys for doing that because it's something that, we need in the Black community, point blank, period. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves and let us know, who you are in your communities.
Okay, I go first, I guess. How you doing? I'm DeAndre Flanagan, but everybody know me as Dre. I'm a local artist in Houston, Texas. I go by Dre Stone. Uh, I haven't done too many official, activism type events, but I kind of I reach my community through my music. But I really notice the change I can definitely make. I can actually put action into my desire, my ideas or whatnot, as far as trying to better the community and educate the youth on, being better possibilities. Because, like I said, me being an artist, I know that kids are heavily influenced by the music. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's one way I can definitely reach them and get to them, and just try to shape them and put them on a better path of direction,
I just want to point one thing out. Dre is an amazing dude. And again, this is where communication comes in. I followed Dre on Instagram for 3 years strictly because he was so young. And every time I seen him on Instagram, he had a mob of guys behind him. And no matter where they was at, he was a voice of reason. just because we don't call it activism, but he's been doing the work for a long time. So I always want to point that out. Like, we have to be careful with other people defining what activism or just who we are as people.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity. Robert Douglas from Roseland on the far south side of Chicago. Man, this is a great opportunity once again. I started this journey almost 20 years ago. Came home from incarceration after 22 months and said I wasn't gonna do it the same way, right? I learned how the system ate off of my ignorance, right? And so I didn't flip the script. I became a researcher. So I researched every component when it comes to human development, right? And published some documents and craft some narratives and did some stuff intellectually. But my passion was community economic development and just building. And so I've been working in the housing reform arena for quite a while. And so looking at the dfree and the Bishop Project, I am definitely elated to just gather the intellectual property with this group, right? And see how we can get some of these properties out of the hands of people that have misused them and into some home ownership to some families that we can help unify through family reunification, and that whole process. That's what Jegna is, that brings a holistic approach to family.
My journey kind of like what the brother said, and what you said about the brother, but I was actually doing this work before I knew I was doing this work. Different, I grew up in the system from juvenile halls, stayed in youth authority till I was 21 years old. Then, but within that time, I built a lot of relationships with a lot of dudes. I grew up with them more than I grew up with the dudes in my neighborhood. So whenever there was a conflict or certain things like that, I was able to reach out, and I built real life true bonds with these brothers, brotherhoods. I got into the game to help my mother and my auntie them, because once I seen this little $100 I'm getting, this could help my family. So I was helping my family as well. So I ended up doing that, against what I really liked or believed in. So I ended up in the game. So I ended up empowering my family, and then it extended to where I ended up with a whole area in my city for over 25 years. I ended up with a whole area, and I made sure everybody in that area, whatever they needed, they had. If the mortgage was due, we just gonna pay it off. And so my homeboy said, look, this is what we're gonna do. And fortunately, I met an attorney that was working at USC. When I met an attorney that worked at USC that was just about to graduate. So she had just graduated the next meeting. So I said, okay, I tell her about all of my ideas to bring them to life. So she said, well, look, I could form an LLC, and you guys have to create operating agreements and bylaws, woo, woo, woo. So the next meeting we had, my homeboy was like, look, everybody put in 5,000. And it was very fortunate that everybody had 5 Gs. And we did that. And so now we got 16 properties in South Bend, and we got a gang of properties in my community. And we didn't took 3 mothers under 30 that's single with kids, and we didn't put them in properties and they own them. So it's a lot more detail, but I'm gonna wrap it up and leave it at that.
That's what's up. Let me just say before we keep going, I just appreciate all the dialect, because I know you're from Cali, Drea's from Texas, and we got Chicago and Boston. And I'm just over here like, whoop, whoop, whoop. Yes, I love it. But you said something, and I know it was illegal at the time, but you mentioned something that reminded me of group economics. That's something that Black people don't usually do. But the fact that you guys were helping people with their mortgages or other things, that says a lot right there. And I know it's part of the blueprint of where you plan to go.
Yeah, for the people that don't know me, my name is Antonio Andre. I'm a Cape Verdean from Boston. I work with an organization called MBK 617. And a lot of the work that these fellas is talking about is the stuff we've been doing over the course of several years with just working with the neighborhood kids. And how I got involved is I got a certain influence in a certain section out here called Roxbury. And all the people that pretty much came up under me, for them, they look at me as a success because I started in the street and then branched out into real estate and started moving in auto bodies and all that other stuff. And I reached back for everybody that didn't make it and kind of get them on the right track. Once they get home from jail, I kind of kick it with them, mentor them into, getting a job, getting legit, and then getting their credit right. Kind of financial literacy, so to speak. And we could, take over the world going that way. So I just showed them a way that I was fortunate to have OGs that took me under their wing and told me, how to move money around and kind of sustain the lifestyle that I live now. And I would like to, pay it forward by letting everybody that came up under me kind of get that tutelage that I got.
I'm super glad that we have all of you guys here today and that you're doing what you do in your community because it is so, so, so needed. And I can't say that enough. So I don't know, but if you want to answer this, so Jegna, if you had all the resources and everything you need in the world, like what is your ultimate goal? And realistically, what does it take to get us there?
I'll let Bobby Anna answer that. I'll just say, for me, like whenever I see a brother like my age or a little younger or older, they always be like, man, bro, can I get $1? And in my head, I'm like, man, I wish I could give you more than $1. I want to give you what I got, right? And so that's the spirit of Jegna. Is like, I want everybody to be a father. I want everybody to be a good brother. I want everybody to be, a person that they can be proud of in their own community. To break down how you do that, as much as people don't want to hear it, a lot of the street organizations, or some people call them gangs, they had a lot of good parts about them that brought camaraderie together, structure together. And if you take the good parts and put it back together, as we keep talking about the famous Boston trip when we all met, it was so much, so many intergenerational conversations. We learned about Cape Verde. We learned about just different type of Black folk. And it's just us, all street Negroes, just having open conversations. And we all learned so much from each other. The stuff that we take for granted, everybody else took it back to their city and ran with it, right? And so a lot of times it's just, I tell people, if you hear, you can heal, right? And so our biggest thing is just listen to each other and listen to the community and bringing the resources back is how I oversee what we like to do as protectors of our cultures and our youngin. Bobby can say it with bigger words, so go ahead, Bobby.
Jegna is a national model within itself, right? Where across the country we speak the same language, but different dialect, right? Different tones, different, and so in all that difference, there's a camaraderie called poverty. And in that poverty, it's controlled by a segment of society that we might not be aware of, right? So Jegna, we create those models where we get brothers to live in the house together, break bread together. It might be so during these times, it might be food for us to go on, right? And that food is strength, brotherhood. That food is camaraderie, love, patience with one another, so that we can grow. And that's what Jegna does. And how do you do that? It's in an environment where there's an intergenerational connectivity. There's a peer connectivity. And there's a reach back how the children in the village connectivity, right? And culminate it all with a house that they can own and they raise their families. But how do you do that when the unemployment rate in the Black community, 18 to 40, is like at 12%, right? So you have to, Jegna will build a workforce. Jegna will help strengthen schools, help strengthen the neighborhood infrastructure. And so most African proverbs, I really don't resonate to, but the one that resonates to me is, how are the children in the village? And that tells you how the community is. It tells you how the economics is. It tells you how the healthcare is. Just go and look at the children. And in my community, the children are being shot every day, babies. And so how do you fix that? And you fix that being engulfed in it. And so just teaching, we call it in the social service world called train the trainer model, right? Mm-hmm. But this is a leadership development component, right? Where we teaching people how to be legislative lobbyists, right? Community lobbyists, right? And so just putting that pedigree together now is what Jegna does with the help of the elders.
Bobby, you preaching. I think you in the wrong profession, but that
Okay.
I feel like dfree is a financial freedom organization, right? But a lot of our principles align. We are deeply rooted in faith in the Black culture and community. So I think we have a lot of similarities. And I heard you guys say something, but so what if somebody, ex gangsters from Jersey or Cleveland or Atlanta want to be a part of Jegna? Like, how do they do that? What does the process look like?
So we have a membership process, right? Where it's a whole rites of passage. So we working with organizations like the Mankind Project to do retreats. It's life skills training. It is the whole holistic, critical wraparound services, right? To see what a family might need. So to be a member, it's just buying into our financial literacy program, right? So, one of the things that Jegna will do is create a pipeline of information that is disseminated equitably through communities, right? Not just through communities in individual cities, but a unified voice across the nation around homeownership.
Don't forget, Jazz, we have brotherhood in Newark. We got brothers in New Brunswick, New York. We definitely got brothers in Atlanta. We strong a lot of where. Our biggest thing is we had to stay a secret for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because everybody looked at us a certain way. You understand what I'm saying? Just being honest with it. Like we had to stay underground. Even we did so it's so many times you've seen our work, brothers that we work with, and y'all didn't know it was us, whether it be Nipsey, whether it be a loon, whether it be that's us, right? But we just couldn't speak about it because we didn't want to get attacked, and we didn't want to make the fight about us, right? We want to keep the fight on what it's supposed to be about, which is healing the broader band. And so that's why the relationship with people like Buster, as Robert called him, Mr. Buster, um, and Dwight McKee were so key because they taught me how to stop hiding, right? And how to become in front, how to take responsibility for everything I did and challenge people, say, that's what I did, what'd you do? But here's what I'm doing now, right? And that's why we're more open to be free to be on these Zoom calls. Because we all like, man, we know what we did and we ain't embarrassed of it no more. We done did our time, right? But we are the fathers. We are the uncles. So ain't no more playing the back row.
Butter, Bobby, Blue, Black, Dre, anybody. Tell us about our partnership with dfree, because it might be somebody watching who has a similar idea or who wants to get involved. Like, what does this partnership with dfree look like, and what are we going to do in the near future?
So we're doing the buy back the block movement, right? Which it goes in phases where we're going to, one, take a piece of property at each city that we're in, redevelop the property, make the property a safe haven and an educational space, right? Yeah. Teaching people how to get dfree, teaching STEM and STEAM projects, teaching different things that matter right now. We're also going to be developing community coaches, right? Similar to life coaches, but people that's been through the community that act as liaisons to get you where they are, right? That still live there. And then also with the Buy Back the Block movement, we are going to be helping families and people buy houses in the communities in which they're from so they can have more ownership. And again, like I said, this is not new. I call him Pops. Pops been doing this with me for years, right? And it's been his toolage and a couple other people's toolage. Like Bobby says all the time, man, you don't get brothers like that giving back wholeheartedly the way he does, right? So like you said earlier, the spirit of dfree does run similar to Jegna because the brother that created dfree helped to create Jegna in his own right.
I love it. This is so fire. I can't wait for it to be like big and a thing and everybody can see what we're doing, because to be honest with you, we need more and more of people like you in different communities so that we can really push this thing forward and make it like a global movement, because Black people need it now more than ever.
There are very few things that are more impressive than for a young man or young woman who made some mistakes in life and who decided that they were going to change And then after they changed, they decided to reach out to help other young people avoid the mistakes they made, or to go back to the neighborhoods that they made mistakes in and make contributions back to those same neighborhoods. That's what you just saw. And the fact that these young men were transparent, they were authentic, and they're passionate about making a difference around this country. It's impressive, it's inspiring, it's humbling, and we in the dfree movement are partnering with them. They call their network Jegna, Jegna. You heard that, Jegna. And they've got connections all across the country. And many of those connections come from groups of people that traditionally would be called gangs. And the reason we hesitate to use the word gang is because the assumption is that if you're in a gang, you're selling drugs, you're killing people, you're about violence. But Jegna is a collection of leaders, entrepreneurs, in many instances, geniuses. You heard some of this language, you heard their dreams, you heard their vision, you heard about their strategies and their efforts. And what we're doing is partnering with them to provide them with tools, to provide them with resources, to provide them with contacts that can increase the likelihood of their success. They don't need us, but we need them to be relevant among people that many parts of our society and many of our leaders have just written off. And so I want to thank Artris Williams, we affectionately call him Butter, and the entire crew. It's an honor for us to work with Jegna and with the network of leaders around this country, young men and women who are determined to ensure that everybody participates in economic uplift and not just a certain group of people. So thank you. And if you can identify with some of what you heard, you may need to connect with us. But if you want to contribute to what they're doing, you certainly need to connect with us,